Welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. My name is Hussein. Happy to be with you. Happy you could be with me. Hello, Tiger. Hello, Abdullah. Hello, Jack Ray. Hello, Just Janice. God bless you guys. And there has been some concern expressed about Pinky in the tree like that. And I just want to assure everybody everything's okay. Pinky's all right. And there's this thing about when you're dealing with interspecial relationships. Interspecial meaning like my relationship with my cat, my relationship with my dog, or in this case, the relationship with Pinky. That sometimes it's hard to understand that, Pinky is perfectly happy there. Okay. Pinky, you see? Now we look at it and we think, oh, wait a minute, how uncomfortable I'd be up on the tree like that. But Pinky is really fine like that. So Binky, and yes, it's true. In Arabic, it is called Binky. And so anyway, just in case, because people talk, And so I just want you to know that I'm aware of the situation and everything is fine. So anyway, I'm going to get started today, and we're going to talk about yesterday was, oh, okay, Tiger, dude, you scared me, man. I've been through this with Emmanuel and me, and we talked about this already. And anyway, but so yesterday we talked about 10 things the cross teaches me about myself. And today I want to talk about 10 things the cross teaches me about Jesus. But before we do that, I just want to look at a video of our friend Ahmed Hijab. And it's been a long time since we've watched a video of Ahmed Hijab plastered out of his brain. Just kidding. I don't know if he's plastered out of his brain, but when I first saw it, I thought, my impression is that he's plastered out of his brain. But I could be wrong. Could just be the way he is. And anyway, let's just watch a little bit for kind of like appetizer, hors d'oeuvres here.
For them what you can, and prepare for them what you can from strength and from horses, that you will tell.
Yes. Okay. This is a verse. It's 860. It's Surah 860, and I'll just tell you, prepare for them. What it says is, make ready against them all you can of power, including steeds of war. But this means tanks, planes, missiles, and artillery, according to Hilali Khan, to threaten the enemy of Allah and your enemy. Okay. And so anyway, let's watch. I don't know. What's your impression? Do you think he's under the influence, or I don't know.
Prepare for them what you can from strength and from horses, that you will terrorize, you will frighten and terrorize the adu Allah, the enemies of Allah and your enemies.
If you notice, it looks like there was some editing to try to make this look better, but I'm not sure that editing really helped. Look,
You will terrorize, you will frighten.
is that a funny word? Terrorize? That he's laughing like that? And by the way, the word in the Arabic is to terrorize. Tirhabuna. Tirhabuna bi. And that does mean terrorize. I just don't know why he'd be laughing at that.
And terrorize the adu Allah. You will terrorize, you will terrorize, you will frighten and terrorize the adu Allah, the enemies of Allah and your enemies.
Editing took place right there. How many different look at this.
The enemies of Allah and your enemies. I will, subhanallah, I will put fear and terror in the hearts of the enemy. So ألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب, terror.
Watching again.
I will put fear and terror in the hearts of the enemy. So ألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب, terror. فاضربوا فوق الأعناق.
The neck.
Hit them above the necks.
Be sensible when you say it. Hit them above the necks. Look at the intensity.
ألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب, terror. فاضربوا فوق الأعناق. Hit them above the necks.
Also get hand gestures to add intensity. Yeah, look at that.
كفروا الرعب, terror.
Look at the hand motions that are supposed to help you understand the Quran. This is the Muhammad Hijab revised. What do they call that thing? What do they call that game where you act out, where you get a word and then you got to act it out and the people got to guess it? You guys know what I'm talking about? It's a game that you play and you get a word. And then when you get the word, you get to act it out. What is it? Shoot. Anybody remember what that game is? Shoot. Anyway, he's giving us hand gestures here about how to cut. It's miming, but there's actually a game. And I don't know, maybe it's in America just. But it's actually a game where you get a word and then you got to get up and act it and stuff like that. So anyway, but dude.
ألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب, terror. فاضربوا فوق الأعناق. Hit them above the necks.
Nice hand motions there. Nice hand motions there. Dude, I'm thinking, I think if you look at this,
واضربوا منهم كل بنان.
all of that. What was all of that? I was like, look how long this went. Look how long this silence.
Hit them above the necks.
Okay, watch this. How long this goes.
واضربوا منهم كل بنان, and cut their fingers. Why the finger?
There's a philosophy. There's a principle in why to cut the fingers.
Because they can't fight. You disable is a very intelligent way.
Intelligent. So intelligent. not just cruelty.
You cut their hand, cut their neck.
Yeah.
Way. You cut their hand, cut their neck.
What's that?
Way. You cut their hand, cut their neck.
Ah, what it do? And then the neck, go back for the neck again.
Finish. Dead.
Finish. Finish. Yup, oh yeah.
Allah is telling you how to fight. SubhanAllah. If you noticed, He's giving you the moves. And the most important move, فَاضْرِبُوا مِنْهُمْ فَوْقَ كُلَّ بَنَانٍ فَاضْرِبُوا فَوْقَ الْأَعْنَاقِ.
Said first of all, the banan, meaning the fingers, but then he said, no, the neck. Most important thing is the neck. And you also get the dramatic aspect so that you can kind of learn the motions, the importance of the motion. So he's helping here. It's like a charades. The game is charades. That's where you get a word and then you got to act it out. He's doing charades here, how to cut people's fingers and necks off. And I kind of think he's under the influence of something. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it looks, my own opinion is that he's under some kind of influence of something. May just be a spirit, but it seems like there's something else going on here.
فَاضْرِبُوا مِنْهُمْ فَوْقَ كُلَّ بَنَانٍ فَاضْرِبُوا فَوْقَ الْأَعْنَاقِ. Go for the one-touch kill.
One touch kill. Yeah, boy, yeah. Dang. Enjoying the American freedom blessing. And sorry, somebody who wants there's this person who always calls, they're out witnessing to Muslims and they always want me to talk in Arabic to the Muslims. Just call me right now. Okay.
Yeah, kill.
So the guy in the background said, which means hit above the neck. But here you're getting charade, man. You're getting a charade, a lesson in charades, how to cut somebody's neck.
Yeah, فوق كل بنان فاضربوا فوق الأعناق. Go for the one-touch kill.
This in the United Kingdom, at the university, Cambridge University. Yeah, look at that, man. Tell me there's not something going on there, something alcoholic.
One-touch kill. Yeah.
I'd say the guy who's talking, he's saying, that's from the Quran, saying strike above the neck. Dang.
فإذا لقيتم الذين كفروا فضرب الرقاب.
If you meet the one who disbelieves, strike him above the neck. He said it real fast.
Surah Muhammad. If you see the ones فضرب الرقاب, this keeps coming up. Either
strike above the neck. This keeps coming up.
hit the neck or hit above the neck, which is some say al-ras. Prepare for them what you can. This keeps coming up.
Ras means head. Some people say it's not just the neck. You hit the head. Dude.
Either hit the neck or hit above the neck, which is some say al-ras.
Ras means the head.
Prepare.
Dude. I think this is viral. I'm not sure. I think this is viral. My wife is the one that showed it to me, man. It's like, dude, let's just watch it. Look, I'm not going to comment on it. I just want to watch it one more time. Let's just watch it together. Just tell me what you think. Does it seem like there's some kind of spirits at work here?
For them what you can from strength and from horses, that you will terrorize, you will frighten and terrorize the adu Allah, the enemies of Allah and your enemies. I will, subhanallah, I will put fear and terror in the hearts of the enemy. So ألقي في قلوب الذين كفروا الرعب, terror. فاضربوا فوق الأعناق, hit them above the necks. واضربوا منهم كل بنان, and cut their fingers. Why the finger? Because they can't fight. You disable a very intelligent way. You cut their hand, cut their neck, finish, dead. Allah is telling you how to fight. SubhanAllah, if you noticed, He's giving you the moves. And the most important move, فَاضْرِبُوا مِنْهُمْ فَوْقَ كُلَّ بَنَانٍ فَاضْرِبُوا فَوْقَ الْأَعْنَاقِ. Go for the one-touch kill.
فضرب الرقاب.
Yeah. فإذا لقيتم الذين كفروا فضرب الرقاب. Surah Muhammad. If you see the ones فضرب الرقاب, this keeps coming up. Either hit the neck or hit above the neck, which is, some say, al-ras.
Going into the Arabic there, because you know what happened? You sound a lot smarter when people don't understand what you're saying. When this is what you're saying, when this is what you're saying, you sound a lot smarter when nobody knows what you're saying. And okay, you guys, I think it's worthy to so here's just one more little precious jewel of Muhammad Hijab. I know this isn't what you came here for, but okay. I haven't done anything about it. It looks like he's been imbibing of something. I don't know what it is. And if you listen to what Malik said, I don't know. He didn't really talk about Muhammad Hijab, but he talked mostly about the Warner. And
our numbers are massive. There's 50 million Muslims in Europe. There's more Muslims in Europe than there are in some Muslim majority countries. If all the Muslims in Europe were one country, it would be one of the biggest Muslim countries in the world. That's the truth. If all the Muslims in Europe were one country, it would be in the top 10 or top 15 biggest Muslim countries in the world. It would be a big country. We're a big people. So that means we need to start acting like the Muslim community have to become the consequence. Make them think, okay, well, if we mess around with this community, what's going to...
What did he say? The Muslim community needs to become the what?
Consequence.
The consequence? The Muslim community needs to become the consequence?
So that means we need to start acting like the Muslim community have to become the consequence.
But you guys, I wasn't going to say it, but I don't know if there's some other influence going on here too, because I don't know what the heck he's talking about. The Muslim community needs to become the consequence? What the heck does that even mean? The Muslim community needs to become the consequence? What the heck does that mean? Is there some other kind of spiritual...
Start acting like the Muslim community have to become the consequence.
Community has to become the consequence.
Make them think, okay, well, if we mess around with this community, what's going to happen? We have to start acting as if we have the upper hand, because we do.
Seem like we have the upper hand because we do. Wow. Wow. What the heck? Religion of peace?
وَكَلِمَةُ اللَّهِ هِيَ الْعُلْيَا, as the Quran says.
Allah al-Ulya means the word of Allah is highest.
The word of Allah, it's high. The reason why the Salaf,
I don't know if this guy on the far right here, if he's a little embarrassed and he's wiping the sweat off his head.
the early generations were so successful in spreading Islam across the world was because they had this immense amount of courage backed by this immense amount of tawakkul, which means
Make it sound like you're saying something. Because you're not saying nothing, but when you throw in an Arabic word, it makes it sound like you're saying something.
reliance on Allah. You realize that, look, I'm doing this for the sake of Allah, and it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. Concept of martyrdom, then I would consider that to be
Martyrdom is bringing martyrdom in to Europe. What the heck? What the heck, man? You're bringing the subject of martyrdom into Europe? What the heck are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? You're for you.
is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. Concept of martyrdom, then I would consider that to be an advantage, frankly. The one who's willing to commit suicide has the initiative.
What the heck?
Consider that to be an advantage, frankly. The one who's willing to commit suicide has the initiative.
One who hear that again.
And it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. Concept of martyrdom, then I would consider that to be an advantage, frankly. The one who's willing to commit suicide has the initiative.
Who's willing to commit suicide has the initiative. Yeah, boy, yay. Yeah, boy, yay. Wow. Oh, good job. You guys, I just shoot. Okay. Somebody's out witnessing and then so anyway, dang. What the heck? What the heck? Whew. Dang, that was like scary, man. Dude, are you for serious? Are you for reals? My goodness. I don't know, dude. It's like, wow. All right. Well, uh, you guys, sorry, I'm thinking about this. All right. I wanted to talk about 10 things the cross teaches me about Jesus. Yesterday, I talked about 10 things the cross teaches me about myself. Today, it's 10 things the cross teaches me about Jesus. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This is, as I thought about this is the first thing that I really thought about. The pain was real. The pain was real. And you think, wait, what's that? You know, it's just that, you know, sometimes we kind of get to think, well, maybe, you know, like when you watch the Passion of the Christ and you see all those whips and all the, you know, the cat o' nine tails, and you see all that, and you think, well, maybe because he's God, he didn't feel the pain the way we would. No, the pain was real. He experienced the pain the same way we would. Every strike, every slap, every punch. It says, you know, if you look at the different prophecies, they pierced my hands and my feet. So Psalm 22, he felt the nails going through. He felt the pain of that. He felt his weight suspended on those nails, and the pain of the bones. The bones, it says in Psalm 22, it says, all my bones are out of joint. Wow, what a prophecy, man. What a prophecy. All my bones are out of joint. It's exactly what happens in crucifixion. What I mean, and it was written 700 years before there was crucifixion. And he felt that. The pain was real. He really experienced that pain. And then in Hosea, it says that they hit him with a rod on his cheek. That's what it says in Hosea, not Isaiah, Hosea chapter 5, verse 2. It says they struck with a rod the king of Israel on his cheek. And then in Isaiah, it says they plucked my beard out by the root. And then it says by his stripes. So all of the stripes, he felt everything. He felt the pain was real. And then it talks about, the fact that they beat him, and then they put his clothes on him, and then they took it off. And when they took it off, I mean, the pain that causes. I heard someone teach about that kind of pain. And then the crown of thorns. The pain was real. He did not have an advantage over us. He didn't take any shortcuts. He experienced the pain the same way we would. He experienced the pain the same way we would. Okay, so that's one thing that I learned about Jesus, is that he came. I actually heard, I think it was Saint Simon, I'm not sure who said this, but God is all knowing. God knows everything. He knows how many hairs on our heads or non-hairs on the heads. He knows everything. But Jesus knows everything, but he knows it experientially now, because he experienced this pain. He doesn't just know it from a distance. He doesn't just know it because he knows everything. He knows it experientially. He came to earth and experienced life just like we do, to where we will be without excuse on Judgment Day. We can't say to him, oh, but you don't understand how hard it is to be poor and to be born out in the street and to be born among a bunch of animals and to be rejected by your own family members he understands all of it. It even says in Psalm 69, it says, I was a stranger to my mother's sons. I was a stranger to my mother's sons. He understood the broken family. Or it wasn't really a broken, but it's kind of a mixed family, I guess. Because, they had the same mother, but not the same father. So anyway, he felt the pain. The pain was real. Another thing that was real, and this is very important right here, is, I'm going to put this up here just so that you think about it again, get that picture. When I survey the wondrous cross, the shame was real. It's interesting that when it talks about the crucifixion in the book of Hebrews, the focal point, the thing that was hardest for him, it doesn't say, it wasn't about the pain. It was the shame. It says he endured the cross, despising the shame. And Jesus felt the shame, despising the shame. And what was the first emotion that Adam and Eve felt when they disobeyed God? The first thing they felt was shame. Remember, they ate of the tree and then they knew that they were naked and then they wanted to cover it because the first thing they felt was shame. And Jesus experienced shame. And if I could just go one step further on this, okay, guys, you know that there were, let me just there's two times where it actually talks about in Matthew 27:28, it says, and they stripped him. They stripped him. They stripped his clothes off. You know, it uses that word strip, and there's another place where it talks about they took his clothes off. It doesn't say stripped, but they took his clothes off. There's two separate times where that happened. Once when he was with the soldiers, when he went in and they stripped him. And then they put the scarlet robe on him and they put the crown of thorns and everything like that. And, you know, if I could just, Jesus endured that shame. It says he endured despising the shame. And, he went through that in order to heal us. And, okay, give me just a little bit of preacherly license here, that there's been a lot of people who have been stripped and who have experienced the shame of being stripped forcefully, maybe in a sexual way, maybe in a violent way. And the shame that those people feel for what they went through. Jesus endured that shame. Jesus experienced that shame. 2 times it says that they took once they took his clothes off with the soldiers, and the next time it was when he was crucified that they took his clothes off. And he was crucified. Now, some people say that they used to crucify people completely naked. And it says he endured the cross, despising the shame. I don't know that he ever felt shame before. I don't know. Maybe in some human situation, I don't know. But he had been one with the Father for all eternity, never separated. And shame, how they define shame is that shame is the belief that you are inherently flawed. The belief that you are inherently flawed. And we are inherently flawed. We're all sinners. But Jesus wasn't. We are flawed, but he wasn't. But he felt the shame. It says, of all the things that they could have said, in the book of Hebrews, they could have said, he endured the cross despising the pain. Maybe he could have said despising the pain, or despising the loneliness, or despising the rejection, or despising the agony, or despising the isolation, or despising the separation, or despising the hatred that the people felt towards him. But it doesn't say any of that. It says he despised the shame. The shame is the first thing Adam and Eve felt. It's something all of us feel, and a lot of us have felt. And he was stripped. 2 times it talks about that. And I think that partly is to heal people who have been sexually abused, people who have been forcefully shamed sexually, and for other reasons. So, Jesus endured that. Jesus endured that in order to heal us. So that's something that I learned about Jesus when I look at the cross, is he endured the shame. People mocking him, the people laughing at him, the people joking about him, the mockery, the disdain, the hatred, the treacherous words. We think, oh, God hears everything. And so, treacherous words don't, he was so, used to the abuse. But you know what? You know what it says in the Bible in, let me see. Oops. There's a verse, I can't find it right now, but it says that one of the things that when Jesus comes back, he's going to judge people for, it's for the treacherous words they spoke against him, because it hurts him. Those treacherous words, you think, oh, with all the treacherous words we speak towards, but when we speak them about Jesus, when people speak about Jesus that way, he feels it. He feels it. The pain was real. And, sometimes you get hardened towards people's words. You get hardened towards what people might say about you, because so many mean things have been said. You kind of harden yourself to where you can't feel the pain of people's words. Jesus didn't do that. He did not harden his heart towards people. Now, he was aware of what people were, but he didn't harden his heart to where he felt the pain of the words they spoke. And so the shame was real. And they were gawking. They were staring at him. That's what it says. They're staring at me. It talks about that in Psalm 22. They're like glaring at me, with their eyes wide open, just mocking them, it says he endured the cross, despising the shame. It's one thing I learned when I observed the cross about Jesus, is that the shame he felt was real. He felt it to heal us. By his stripes we are healed. And by his sorrow that he felt, not just the physical, but the emotional pain he felt, was also to heal mine. He carried our sorrows. Not only did he carry our sickness, our physical pain, he carried our sorrows, our emotional pain, to heal it with the Holy Spirit. So the pain was real, the shame was real. Another thing I learned, obeying the Father was the most important thing to Jesus. This was the number one thing to Jesus. His top priority was to obey the Father. I mean, the top priority wasn't even to save us. And I mean, that was what the Father wanted. The Father wanted him to save us. That was the Father's top priority, is to save us. But Jesus' top priority is to obey the Father. That was his number one priority, is to obey the Father. And we see the struggle. It was such a struggle. Remember when Peter said to him, when he said to the disciples, I'm going to be crucified and killed. And then Peter started rebuking him and saying, no, this will never happen to you. And it says Jesus, in front of the other disciples, turned his back to Peter and said, get behind me, Satan. Because Peter was trying to dissuade him from obeying the Father. And he didn't want to listen to anyone that would dissuade him from obeying the Father. The number one priority of Jesus was to obey the Father. It says number one priority. And then we see it again in the garden, where he says, Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. But not my will, but your will be done. All that mattered to him was obedient, to obey the Father. And it says in the book of Hebrews, he learned obedience. You think, wait a minute, he's God. How can he learn? He became a man. He emptied himself of his divine prerogative so that he could learn like we learn. And it also says he grew. How can God grow? He knows everything. No, he grew in wisdom and favor, God and man. So he grew like we grow. And he learned obedience through the things he suffered. He learned obedience. This is what he can. Can you imagine that? God became a man so he could learn. And what did he want to learn? Science? Did he want to learn trigonometry? Did he want to learn linguistics? Did he want to learn nuclear, medicine? No, he wanted to learn obedience. The top most important thing to Jesus was to obey the Father. Should be the most important thing to us. Okay. And then he took no shortcuts. He took no shortcuts. He went through the full, most miserable pain imaginable to a human being. He went through it all. He got no shortcuts. Got no shortcuts. He didn't get no breaks. He went through the whole pain of everything. And you know why I say that? Because when you think of like Muhammad, okay, I'm sorry to bring him up in the midst of this, but Muhammad always had shortcuts for himself. Muhammad always had shortcuts for himself. Everybody else, you can marry 4 wives, but Muhammad could have 13 and slave girls and all the other women, whatever believing woman wanted to give himself to him. And Father Zechariah has the name of 66 women that he was involved. And so Muhammad always had a special escape route for himself. Muhammad said that it's forbidden to listen to music, and if you listen to music, the earth is going to open up its mouth and swallow you up. And music is haram. But when Abu Bakr came to his house, what did he have in his house? Dancing girls and music. Muhammad always had special exceptions for himself. In Quran 33:50, it says Muhammad is allowed to have sex with his wives that he paid dowries for. He's allowed to have sex with his cousin, female maternal cousins, female paternal cousins, and every believing woman and all the women he owned. He's allowed to have all of this sex, and it says but this is only for you, O Prophet. So he had a special, for himself, he had shortcuts. He had all these shortcuts for himself. But Jesus had no shortcuts. He took no shortcuts. He went through the hell of the cross on Calvary with no, and you know one of the shortcuts? Even the abominable Roman soldiers who put the nails in his hands, they were trying to give him a shortcut. They wanted to give him the gall, to drink the gall, because the gall is an anesthetic. And if you drink it, you won't feel the pain as much. It'll lighten the pain. And Jesus refused to drink it. He took no shortcuts. He felt every single pain. And when he was on the cross, okay, there was the physical pain. But when he was on the cross, he also felt the spiritual pain, because all of our sins were placed on him during those 3 hours of darkness. All of the sins of all of humanity was placed on him. He tasted death for every man. Now, not every man is going to accept him, and a lot of those people are going to go to hell. But he tasted death for every man. He experienced the pain without anesthesia. He just took the whole thing. He took no shortcuts whatsoever. Let's look at the picture again. Let's look here. Okay. Jesus did everything that could possibly be done for the eternal, free, intelligent creatures that he created to be saved from the consequences of their own actions. Read that again. Jesus did everything that could possibly be done for the eternal, free, intelligent creatures he created to be saved from the consequences of their own actions. There's nothing more that could be done for us. There's nothing more that could be done for us. He did it all. He did it all. Everything that could be done for us, he did. On Judgment Day, we're not going to be able to stand in front of him and say, but if you only did this. No, he did it all. He did everything that could possibly be done to save us. Everything that could possibly be done, he did. If I could just use an example, for instance, sometimes, and I've heard people say this, it's like, why did God create me? Why did God create me only to let me fall into the situation where I'm a hopeless sinner and I can end up going to hell forever for it? Why did he even create me? I didn't ask to be created. Well, you were created for his pleasure, because he loves you. He knew you, foreknew you, and wanted you and created you for his pleasure, because he wants to be in relationship with you. And then, lest you say there was some injustice in that, he did everything that could possibly be done for the eternal, free, intelligent creatures he created to be saved from the consequences of their own actions. He took on himself the consequences of our actions. so that we could be free. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Jesus healed me from I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. Oh, yeah, boy, yeah. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Hallelujah. But you know what? When it says that's the one thing you got to read Isaiah 53. It doesn't just talk about physical suffering, it talks about emotional suffering. He carried our sorrows. He carried our sorrows. He carried our pain, our physical pain, our sickness. In Matthew, it says, he bore our sickness. I'm not sure if this is right. But is it possible? Because it says this in Matthew, when it says that he bore our sickness, that Matthew makes it seem as if when he healed the sickness, he didn't just heal it, but he took the sickness onto himself. He bore that sickness. He didn't just heal it, he bore the sickness. And this says that in Matthew, I believe, chapter 8, when it's talking about Isaiah. It says Jesus was healing here, but and then it says that, as it says in Isaiah, he bore our sickness. That he didn't just heal the sickness, but because the sickness is the consequence of our sin, that in a sense, he bore our sickness, meaning he took it on himself. So that's another thing I learned when I look at the cross, is that he bore our emotional pain. He bore our physical pain. He bore our spiritual, eternal pain. When did he do that? Our eternal spiritual pain. When did he feel that? It's when he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? When he experienced the separation from God, the God that created us for fellowship. He had never been separated from God. And I believe when he was crying in the Garden of Gethsemane, let this cup pass from me, the main aspect of the cup that he wanted to be spared is the separation from the Father for all eternity past. In all of infinity, he had never been separated from the Father. But on the cross, he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he tasted the spiritual death, the physical death, the emotional death, the psychological death, the spiritual death, the physical death. He experienced all of it. He tasted death for every man. When I look at the cross, I see that. That's what I learned about Jesus. And this Jesus, who said, no one knows the Father but the Son, perfectly trusts the Father. Let me just say that again. Jesus, who said, no one knows the Father but the Son. Nobody knows the Father but the Son. He knows him perfectly. And based on his knowledge of the Father, he perfectly trusts the Father. The fact that he perfectly trusts the Father tells us that the Father is perfectly trustworthy. The fact that Jesus perfectly trusts the Father means that the Father is perfectly trustworthy. Perfectly trustworthy. And one thing I think about when I think about that is that when Adam and Eve were in the garden, and Satan came to Eve and said, has God said, you shall not eat of this tree? And of every tree in the garden. And then Eve says, no, we can eat of all, but we can't eat of this one. And then Satan says, because God said, in the day you eat of it, you will surely die. In the day you eat of it, you'll die. Well, what did Satan say? Satan said, you will not die. God knows that if you eat of this, God knows, and he's scared. That's kind of what Satan's saying, is God knows and he's scared. Because if you eat of it, you'll become like him. And so what happened to man's conception of God? Eve believed Satan. And what was Satan doing? He was demeaning the character of God, making God seem like an insecure tyrant who's trying to keep something good from them. And so man believed Satan and ate of the tree. What led to the sin was the wrong conception of God, because they didn't really know God perfectly. Jesus, who said, no one knows the Father but the Son. This is in Matthew. Jesus said, no one knows the Father but the Son, and no one knows the Son but the Father. And Jesus, who perfectly knew the Father, perfectly trusts the Father. He perfectly trusted the Father, which means the Father is perfectly. The one who knows the Father perfectly trusts the Father perfectly, which tells us that the Father is perfectly trustworthy. Unlike what Satan said to Eve, what Jesus showed us is that the Father is perfectly trustworthy, worthy perfectly of our obedience. So those are things that I learned about Jesus when I look at the cross. These are things the cross teaches me about Jesus. Yesterday, I talked about things I learned about myself, things that the cross teaches me about myself. And today, it's things the cross teaches me about Jesus. And you guys, I haven't even touched nothing. I haven't touched nothing. It's a huge ocean, and I just spoke one drop of water from this huge infinite ocean. But it's a small thing. And you should do this. You should do this. You should look at the cross. And what do you learn about Jesus when you look at the cross? What do you learn about Jesus when you look at the cross? See, you can do that too. So we made it exactly an hour. It's right now exactly an hour and 17 seconds. So we made it. So, all right, you guys. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. And if you haven't done it, hey, baby. Hi. Hey, baby. Where's your mama? Where's your mama? I saw this bird on the sidewalk, and I was worried about him because he had fallen from a tree, and I don't think he could fly. And I was worried that a cat or something would come get him. I tried to rescue him, but he kept jumping, flying away from me. And I remember the story that a guy told once that he wanted to help some birds, but he couldn't communicate with them. And they were afraid they'd fly away if he tried to reach out for them. He says, the only way I could talk to these birds is if I become a bird, and then I can talk to them. And this is kind of a picture of the incarnation, that mankind was afraid of God. Remember when God came down in his glory on Mount Sinai, and the people were terrified, and they told Moses, you go talk to him, because we're going to die if we keep listening to him, because we're so scared of his voice and his glory. And God said, that's a good thing that they said. I'm going to raise up for them a prophet from among your brothers. And so from that bird situation, he learned about the importance of God becoming a man, the incarnation, so he could talk to us. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much, Howdy, Mantuna. God bless you. Thank you. Feiruz, yeah, but yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, that's a good place to end this thing. I love that song. I love Feiruz, when I was first a believer. By the way, guys, please pray for my friend. I have this friend who's an Assyrian, and his son was murdered the day before yesterday. His son was brutally murdered the day before yesterday. And this brother is a great Christian, and he goes witnessing to Muslims, and he just loves to preach the gospel to Muslims. Anyway, so pray for him, please. All right, you guys. Well, God bless you. I don't know what's going on in California right now, but there's some news coming out. So, but anyway, let me go ahead and play this song for our brother. It's a song I really like too. Feiruz. I don't know if you got Feiruz, you guys. There are several very famous Arabic singers from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now Feiruz is from Lebanon, and she, unlike the others, most of whom are Muslims, she's a Christian. And she sings about the Lord, beautiful songs from the church. So our friend here, Howdy Madtuna, asked about that song. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and we'll just end it with this. So thank you for being with us. If you haven't done it, Jesus help me. Jesus forgive me. Jesus come into my heart. Jesus help me. Jesus forgive me. Jesus come into my heart. Yesur sa'idni. Yesur samahni. Yesur udkhul qalbi. And also, just in case we have a Muslim here, I'm going to put the link here. And if there is a Muslim who would like to come up, you're welcome to come up. I'm going to play the song, and if you come while the song is on, when the song is done, we can talk if you like to. God bless you. Thank you. All right. This is Feiruz, Ya Habibi. You know what? The sound is so bad on this. Let me see if I can get another one. Can you guys hear it? Can you guys hear it? So bad.
حباب الليل كانت أصواتي تاخدنا مشوار صوب المدى والنار صوب المدى والنار حلفتك يا حبيبي لا تنسى يا حبيبي
Oh, can you guys hear this? Because I can't hear it. Sounds like, well, okay. Oh, the sound is fine? Really? Yeah, no, you see, this happened before. They told me that the sound is fine, but I can't hear it. صوب المدى والنار